Okay, y'all, good morning, good morning. It's Wednesday morning. We're not working again today. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down here to Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna grab a biscuit for my wife and myself. I'm gonna go over to, I'm gonna drop it off over there where she works. We'll have a biscuit, and then I'm gonna come and hook up to the Bobcat trailer, and we're gonna take Bobby back over there and do some more bush hogging. So, yeah, I mean, that's really all I can do. There's not a lot I can do, and I just need to do something, man. You know, yesterday I didn't do anything, because it rained all day, and it rained all night too, man. The amount of rain that we have gotten in the last 2 weeks is, I can't remember when it's rained this much all year. We'll get over there to the bamboo site. We're gonna run Bobby for a little while and hope nothing else breaks. And I need to get my damn $800 back that I spent on parts the other day. So I appreciate everybody, you know, tuning into the videos. I see my views are going up some, and I'm very thankful and grateful for that. I know one thing that is kind of a stickler for a lot of people, and that's okay. Nobody has to agree with me, and you know, on anything really, because it is not going to change how I do stuff. So one of the things that y'all know that I've been talking about is the rental versus owning. And as I was watching my video and reading the comments, maybe, you know, I don't want to say I don't hardcore ever rent nothing, and I don't want to say always buy you know, the equipment. But if it's at all possible, you want to own the equipment. You know, I do. I want to own the equipment because that puts me in control of everything. And if you're an entrepreneur, I know a lot more about what's going on in my business than the rental yard. You know, I think one guy came in the comments and was saying, well, he rents it and just charges it to the customer, you know, or he could not rent it and then make a payment. You know, he was versing, you know, renting versus owning. He was just saying that he had rather, you know, pay a couple $100s to rent something than, you know, thousands of dollars to own something. And see, I don't look at things like that. Now, every purchase is a little bit different. Like, for instance, one of the few things that I will rent is a chipper. I will rent a chipper because, see, I know that I don't do enough work to justify a chipper, but only I know that, you know. And also I know the maintenance on a chipper is far, deep, wide, and very expensive if they go down. Well, they're kind of complicated to me, and everything that I'm talking about right now is just how I see things. So a chipper is a piece of equipment that I will rent, and I don't know what piece of equipment you can rent for a couple $100s. It ain't no Bobcat or nothing like that. In my area, the man lift that I got, and this is a fact, y'all can look it up, the man lift that I got, it rents for about $460 a day. Yeah. And a Bobcat skid steer track machine like I got, probably about the same thing, but you got to go pick it up. Now, if you got to have it delivered to the site, well, you done stepped off into, you know, $600 or $700 easily per day. And the guy was saying that he can't remember exactly how he worded it, but it made sense. You know, I can see where he's coming from. He was just saying that he'd rather do, you know, just charge the customer for that. Either way, he was saying either way it's the same, but really it's not the same. And let me tell you why, dude. Because when the customer, if you own the equipment and the customer pays you and you keep that money, you're keeping the money and you own the equipment. The equipment is always up for resale too. one, no matter how you look at it, it's not the same. I mean, it's not even close. And now, of course, if you go out and buy a piece of equipment that is outside of what you are doing or trying to do or whatever, then that's not a smart move. The information that I'm saying, and I do have a disclaimer, is a lot of the things are given facts of where you're at or what you're trying to do. If I was going into the tree service business and I knew that that's what I was going to be doing, well, I'd want to buy a bucket truck and a chipper and a damn chipper truck to shoot the chips in. See, now I don't know. I know that you could probably rent all that stuff if you pay enough money, right? But if I know that's what I'm going to be doing, then I would try to buy at all, any way possible. I want to buy the equipment. Now that's a lot of equipment to buy at one time, so you may have to space it out, or you may have to, buy some damn hoopties and then work your way up, whatever, But if I can own the equipment and I don't have to, number one thing is pay the rental yard, okay? That's the number one thing. Number two thing is the availability at the rental yard. These are the reasons why I don't like to rent. And don't come in the comments talking about, well, you said you never rent nothing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if I know, like another guy came in the comments and was saying, and I'm not, this is not me calling anybody out or me trying to hurt nobody's feelings. This is just a conversation, man. So these Angie people, man, they keep calling me. They called me about 4 times yesterday, and they've already called me this morning. And I've just been dodging the call, but I'm fixing to call them back and tell them to stop calling me. I've already told them I didn't want to. I've had a very direct conversation with them, man.
Hey Ray, it's Angie over at Angie's. How are you?
I'm good. So I just wanted to, I thought I had told you guys that I didn't want to do anything.
You might have talked to somebody in the lead division,
yeah,
but I'm not sure. I mean, on our end of it, there's 2 different departments, and we don't get any of their information. So,
right,
can I ask why?
Well, I'm just not. I'm not going to be chasing leads and stuff. I just don't.
Well, did anybody ever explain to you the difference between both departments?
Well, they explained to me that they would give me this many leads for $1,000 a month, and there was not a guarantee that I would get any of the work. And it's not something I've been doing this too long to be. If I was in year 1 or 2, y'all might be something I'd look at. But I'm 17 years in, and I don't really need. I'm not going to be chasing work, like that.
Okay, well, let me give you a little idea, because again, I don't know who you talked to, but this is the advertising department. People are calling you directly. So the homeowners, when they go to our site and they put in what the information, what they want done, which we ask them a lot of questions, they then go to our advertisers. And then they contact you directly. So this is not, I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure who you spoke to in the lead division, but this is not leads.
Okay, so if that's the case, then why do y'all keep calling me?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if that's the case, like you said, the owner, the people that are wanting to work would be the one directly calling me. Why do I keep getting calls from you guys?
Because, well, we need to get you signed up, because we're not just going to give you something for nothing.
Right, and I'm telling
you. Just says you wouldn't do. Just says you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but I'm telling you guys that I don't want to do anything. So now what?
Okay, well, I'm taking you out of my system. Actually, I already deleted you out before you even called, but I called you back.
All right.
Because I haven't heard from you. But yeah, no problem.
And if things change, I'll call you.
Okay, no problem. You're out the system. Thanks.
Have a Merry Christmas. See how she got mad, didn't she? So yeah. That's that. Okay, y'all, so let's continue this on, man. I had to, load the skid steer up and everything, and I didn't want to be, having to change my train of thought, man. But sometimes I think that's the problem on some of the videos that I do, because I get to talking about one thing, but I'm actually doing something else, and then my yeah. So, okay, so let's get back to that. So, the guy come in the comments and he was saying that he knows a lot of guys that, you know, that do aeration, and what they do is they'll rent the aerator, and that's cool, you know. But like if an aerator is something that's not that expensive, I mean, it ain't like it's $50 or $80 or $100,000. So my thinking, and this is just for me, my thinking is, okay, if I know I'm going to be doing aeration, and I know that I'm not going to stop, you know, doing aeration, when I year after year after year, and I'm renting and I'm renting and I'm renting, and though I'm making money, I'm not really owning the equipment. And if, you know, if I'm not owning the equipment, then I have to kind of pile work up and then do it through the weekend, right? Because, you know, that's the best way to do rentals, you know, as far as I'm concerned. But what happens if the rental yard don't have one? What happens if and these things are I don't want to say likely to happen, but it's 50-50. You know, they don't have one because they loaned it, they've already rented it out. And 9 times out of 10, if you are doing aeration and it's aeration season, then there's a lot of other people doing aeration too. So you might have to wait, not all the time, but you might have to wait to get the aerator. So that's one problem. What happens if you on Saturday you're aerating and the damn thing breaks down? The rental yard's closed, so obviously you can't finish up that day, and you can't finish up Sunday. So then you're spending, you know, 2 days of the next week trying to wrap up work, because you got to go back to the rental company, you got to rent another one, you got to go back and do the work, and then it might rain. You could end up stretching out that weekend work to, well, I mean, it could take you an additional 3 or 4 days to get the same money, or 2 days to get the same money. But at the end of the, you know, but at the same time, you got to look at too that can happen with any piece of equipment. But if you own the equipment, then you can schedule to come back without having to incorporate a third party, being the rental yard. See? And that makes it where your time, you can manage your time better. And, you know, I preach in all the videos, or a lot of them, this business out here that I'm in, and I don't know about everybody else, but this business that I'm in, it's all about your time and selling your time. And when you having to spend extra time to, you know, rent equipment, go get it, take it back, you know, all these things, go in there, do the paperwork, blah blah blah. And it's not that difficult to do, don't get me wrong, but all that time that you're running, you know, to the rental yard and doing all that, see, I done got the work done the work and on to the next job. And if I own the aerator, then I can do more work, because I can go and do a $200 aeration job that I wouldn't be able to do if I had to go rent it, because it ain't worth it. It ain't worth going to the rental company, going through all that shit. Say you're just doing 10 aerations. We'll just use 10 as a number. And this concept kind of applies to the whole rental concept, the whole rental thinking, that as far as I'm concerned. So say you got 10 customers, and they're loyal, and they are having aeration every year, and you got your price set, right? And you are doing and you've been renting them and been able to make money like that, right? What if somebody else calls you, one of their friends or neighbors or something calls you and says, hey, can you do my aeration? And what do you say? Well, there's not hardly enough time to do any more over the weekend than the 10 that you've already signed up for. So you got to look at that too. I mean, I'm just saying. And there for a minute, the aerators were hard to get. I don't know if they still are, because like I said, I'm not in the aeration business. There ain't no money in it for me down here. There's just, I had rather not. If I can't, you know, and that's based on the customers that I got now. But if I had enough customers come to me and say, hey, Ray, we're paying a guy $200 to aerate our yard, and he doesn't want to do it anymore or whatever. You want to take that on? What do I say? Well, I would have to look at, okay, $200. Well, that really ain't worthy of me going and buying an aerator, and it ain't worthy of me going and renting one either. Because if they're only paying $200, then the rental's going to suck up all that money, and then the energy, time, effort, and all that to go get it and everything. I ain't making nothing. But if I own the machine and one job comes in, I can go make that $200 and come on back, right? My goal has always been, and I'm not saying my goal should be what everybody's goals is. My goal is to always own the equipment if at all possible. Like, I'm going over here to the bamboo site, right? I'm gonna spend probably 3 or 4 hours over here, right? And I'm gonna make probably $500 or something like that, $600, whatever, you know. See, I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't own the Bobcat. Well, yeah, you could, Ray. You would just have to pass that cost on to your customer. Yeah, but customer ain't gonna. Why would a customer go with you when you got to go through all that crap to rent it, and you're gonna charge him another $500 or $400 when he can call me? And I'm trained to go right now. I ain't got to wait on the rental yard. I ain't got to go nowhere to do nothing. All I got to do is load up and pull off. You know, makes my time valuable. I'm not running down a piece of equipment. And it's a given that you can't own every piece of equipment known to man, right? You can't, you know, I mean, sometimes you're going to be forced to rent, you know, just like I would with a chipper. And that's, you know, to do some of the tree trimming jobs that I've done for $500 or $600, if you don't own the equipment, you're missing out on all of that work. If you're renting the equipment and the equipment costs you $400, then it's hard for you to go do a job for $500. Well, Ray, I'm just passing it on to the customer. Okay. Just think, if you own the equipment, you can pass it on to the customer, and the customer pay you, and you can keep the rental fee too. And the rental fee is going to go toward paying for the piece of equipment that you own. These are just my thoughts, and this is how I think on the rental. And some people, you know, will die by the rental. And some people will not. You know, some people are like me, kind of hard-headed in the other realm of it, right? And I'm not, you know, I might come off as, I don't know, arrogant or an asshole or whatever. But I'm just saying and showing you guys how I'm doing shit out here. And if you're gonna buy, we'll go back to the aerator. If you know you're gonna be aerating properties, and since the aerator don't cost $100,000 or $30,000, hell, I think you can get an aerator, hell, probably a brand new one for less than $15,000. Now, what you got to ask yourself is, how long is it gonna take you to make that $15K with it? If you got a set format and you're only doing 10 aerations a year, well, renting it might be the best way to go. But if you had your own, you would probably do more aeration because it's less trouble for you to do the work. So if I didn't own the Bobcat and I had to go rent one, I would miss out on this $500 or $600 over here on a rainy, wet, ugly day. You know, I wouldn't. You know, and then you not only are you missing out on the work for that day, but you're also going to miss out on potential work in the future by word of mouth and all. Because if you can't take on some of the smaller jobs, then nobody's going to refer you because they don't. You haven't done any work for them. And there's no way that if you rent a machine, and there's no way that if you have to rent a machine, and I don't, that you're going to be able to compete with my number. No way. I mean, you could be a much better operator. You could be everything that I'm not, right? But if you had to go and spend $500, we'll just use that number as a nice round number. If you have to go spend $500 and take 2 hours to go get a machine and get it to the job, and you got to pass that on to the customer, I can just pass $250 on to the customer, and I'm $250 cheaper than you, and I'm much more efficient because I don't have to go run nowhere to go do nothing, and I don't have to worry about some sloppy ass mechanic at the yard, the rental yard, not doing the work. Now, I'm gonna find one to talk. My Bobcat could break down today, you know. But if I had rented it and it broke down, well, now I'm in I got all kind of stuff going on. Then everything becomes a rush. Because now, oh man, I gotta call the yard. Oh man, I hope they can bring me another one out to the job. Oh man, if they ain't got another one available, what am I gonna do? Oh man, you know, all these things are what I think about. And a lot of you guys have made really good points. You know, renting the machines before you buy them. That makes sense to me, right? On a $100,000 piece of equipment or $80,000 piece of equipment, but on a $10 or $11,000, $12,000, $15,000 piece of equipment, I don't know, man. I'd have to weigh how long it's gonna take me to get my money back. And one guy came in there was saying, well, I'd borrow from my friend and all that. How many friends do you know gonna let you use their mini excavator, man? I ain't got none of them. I ain't got no friends that's gonna let me use their mini X. Maybe I just don't have a lot of friends. But one thing you're gonna find is folks are real funny about their equipment and letting you borrow it. I ain't letting nobody borrow my Bobcat. It would take well, I'd be more likely, and done it before, to go do the work for them for free than to let them use my skid steer. That's just me. And I know, because I've been doing this a long time, that if you asked everybody that watches this channel, how likely are they going to let somebody borrow their equipment all the way down to a lawnmower? I don't want to let nobody borrow no lawnmower either. I don't even like loaning out a blower or a weed eater. That's just how it is, man. You know, I will, but I won't. But I'm gonna stop it at the blower weed eater. I'm not gonna too tough let nobody borrow one of my mowers. That ain't gonna happen. So it's a given. I'm not gonna let nobody borrow my Bobcat or any other piece of equipment that's bigger than a mower. There ain't no way, because there's all kind of things that can go on the equipment, and they could destroy a piece of equipment where I wouldn't. I would know what's up. And these are the things that I think about when I'm doing these videos. You know, it ain't that I'm hardcore never gonna rent, because I probably will. But as soon as I see I can buy the equipment and I'm using it enough, I bought the freaking man lift, and some people might say it's a bad move. I bought the freaking man lift, y'all, and I had $11,000 in work lined up, right? That's what I had lined up for the man lift when I bought it. I did the initial $11,000 worth of work, and then I done another $20,000 or $25,000 worth of work with the machine in 2 years. I've had the man lift 2 years. So at the end of the day, I paid $17,000 for it, and I probably doubled my money. I probably made another $17,000 to $20,000 with it. So I got my money back plus say 20 grand. Now, in 2 years. And the most important thing that a lot of people don't realize is I still own the equipment. I could sell that man lift tomorrow on a quick sale for $14,000 on a quick sale. So then you put another $14,000 in my pocket. If I'd been renting that machine all along the way, number one, I wouldn't have made 40 grand with it. That's money that the business does not get, which directly impacts the business and its ability to be able to buy more equipment, to do more work, to make more money faster. Well, Ray, you had to spend 17 grand, up front for the man lift. Yeah, but 11 of it came right back to me. And it did cost me a little bit in the beginning because you have to learn, what to do. But I already knew how to run one of those man lifts, because I had rented them before, and that's why I didn't do man lift work, because I couldn't never get past that $465 a day rental. It's expensive. Shit. You ain't got to do many jobs to pay to spend 17 grand. Well, I just pass that on to my customer. Well, I do too. And that means the man lift gets paid off even quicker. And I own it, and I can sell it at any given moment to get, maybe not what I got in it, but that's okay because I've been earning money with it. I might though, according to how the supply chain is. I might be able to get my whole 17 grand back. You never know, right? But I don't know if anybody's going to let me use their equipment to test it out. Rent it from them, or a buddy that's just going to, here, Ray, here's the keys to my Mini X. Go use it and let me know. Because most of the time, when people own the equipment, they're vested. And they're not fixing to let nobody use it because they know what it takes to sacrifice to come off that equipment, the money for that equipment. And I don't expect everybody to do things like I do, but all of this, the equipment that I got, and I know I'm a small guy, a small YouTube channel. I'm just your average Joe that turns a camera on. But all the equipment that you see I got, and it's not, it's nothing compared to a bigger outfit and blah blah blah. But all this equipment was derived from cutting grass. Was derived from that first 25-inch rear-mounted snapper mower that I had. That's where it all started. But you can't be a fool with your money, or you'll never be able to get equipment. And in this game, equipment and customers, that's number one. Customers and equipment, that's they right there. And then skill. Now, when you start stepping up to the bigger equipment, my Bobcat's little. I like it that it's little in a lot of ways, but I don't like it that it's might be too little for some stuff. Like running the brush cutter over here. Well, the machine will run my brush cutter fine, but it don't run it as good as a newer machine. But the newer machine's gonna set me back 80 grand. This machine you see on the trailer's paid for. And that's kind of, and that's kind of in where I'm at. But I would never go rent a Bobcat. The only way I would rent a Bobcat or a skid steer is if I'm in the middle of a job and this mower and this machine goes down on me where it can't be fixed. That's the only way I would rent a machine, and it would have to be a certain job that that would require me to finish, you know, in a set time. But when it comes to, like, go back to the aerator again, when it comes to aeration and stuff, you can make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money with aeration. And if you just want to do a few, then rental might be the best way to go. But I would still be, even if I was doing, you know, 10 or 15 a year, I would still be trying to work my way toward buying one. I wouldn't be satisfied with having to go rent an aerator every year. I know me. What I would end up doing is if I had to go rent an aerator every year, even though I'm making decent money at it, and I didn't buy an aerator eventually, then I'd probably stop doing aeration. That's just me, you know. Sort of like going out and I mean, you can apply it to just about everything. It's sort of like going out and renting a lawnmower. You can't make as much money renting a lawnmower as I can if I own a lawnmower. Same concept. I don't care how many yards you got. You're gonna have to get over that $200 a day rental, and I'm not. And the lawnmower life is gonna outlive that $200 a day. It might sound good to begin with, but the way finance companies are and stuff these days, shit, you can get a mower no interest or aerator no interest for 4 years. If you can't pay it off in 4 years, then you might need to figure out something else to do. I'm just saying, man, you know. But I can understand if you're kind of new in the game, right? I can understand if you're new in the game and you rent, because we all have done it, you know. And true enough, buying a Mini X is a lot different than buying an aerator, because an aerator is going to give you, well, an aerator is safer, it's cheaper and it's safer, you know, and it could appear in the beginning phases to be more consistent because you've got set customers that are going to want this every year. See, a mini excavator, you go out on a job and you do a job and it pays, you know, $3,000 or $4,000. Well, you probably never going to go back to that job again. They might call you back to do something else. They might not. That's why you got to take that money that you make on these bigger jobs, and you need to get the equipment paid off so you can do stuff like what I'm doing today, where I don't have to charge a lot. I keep the machine going, and I can make you know, $1,000 or $800 with very minimal overhead. You're gonna miss out on all these type of jobs if you got to rent, or you're gonna try to condense it all. And that's what I used to try to do, and I get the concept because I used to do it. But I learned real quick that I didn't want to do it like that. I used to line up 4 or 5 jobs with a chipper, or 3 or 4 jobs with a chipper, or one of those man lifts. I used to rent them too. And it would be such a rush, right? All weekend trying to get all the work done, and I still wouldn't get done, and then I had to pay an extra day, and it was just a lot of stress. You know, well, you're gonna have stress when you jump out there thousands and thousands of dollars on a piece of equipment. It's not as much stress because I'm in charge of everything. It's my equipment, and I can pretty much charge whatever the hell I want. I'm not mandated to charge a number based on what the rental people are charging me. The more money I can keep, the better. As long as I'm doing right with the money and am being smart with my money. And with the money that I make, I'm extremely smart with it. I am. I ain't trying to, but I am. I don't waste money on stupid shit, and I don't waste time. You know. That's why, you know, I get kind of offended sometimes when people come into, when these trollers and these folks come into my YouTube and, you know, try to take a dig at me or whatever. Because I put a lot of time into the YouTube videos. Like right now, I got a skid steer sitting on the truck and I'm in here, I'm in the truck talking. Right? But the rental versus owning, it's a no-brainer, you know, if you're established and you're smart with your money. If you're a beginner, then you're probably gonna have to rent just to figure out, you know, what you want to do. Now, if I was hardcore ready to pull the trigger on a Mini X, then I would dive in a little bit more into, you know, what machine to get, right? Used or whatever. And that's why I was looking at that auction, because that prompts me to learn about different brands and stuff. There's a couple things that's a given though, right? So it's a given to me that the mini excavator is going to have to at least be 30 to 35 horsepower, somewhere around in there. Any mini excavator that and I'm not saying I'm looking for one, I'm not saying I'm going to buy one, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying to the people that are saying you need to rent them to kind of figure it out, I would say, okay, that's a good idea, but my number and everything's going to have to be inflated to cover the rental. So not only am I having to pay to cover the rental, I'm going to have to pay to cover what I don't know either. You know, and it's really, you know, kind of basic. You know, a mini excavator, number one, it 35 horsepower. Number two, it can't weigh more than, you know, 10 to 11,000 pounds. What's another thing? And if it's used, I'm not going to want it to have more than 1,000 hours on it, but all that's negotiable, according to how good they took care of it. So that's three basic things right there that I look for in a used one. Now, if I'm going to go new, the same thing applies, because I'm not going to step into excavator that weighs more than what my trailer can haul or what I want to haul. And obviously, if it's new, then you're not going to worry about the hours on it, and you're going to have a warranty. But usually, when I buy equipment, the only thing that I'll buy new is a lawnmower. I'll buy something used and spend, you know, 10, 12, 15, 20, 25,000 on it, and then kind of see how it goes, instead of going through all that rental stuff, you know, and then still having to do the same thing. I just wasted all that time renting, but I learned. But you can only buy used machines that are available, and renting them, well, it's hard to get a good bead on a good machine or not from a rental place, because they're dogged out, ragged out, unless you get lucky, you know. But you're going to filter a lot of that out by, number one, what's available, and number two, what you can haul around. You're going to filter a lot of the BS out right there when it comes to used equipment. And then another filter is going to be, of course, what it costs and how many hours are on it. So I'm just not the type to waste a bunch of time and years, you know, or whatever, renting a Mini X from different multiple yards and stuff, trying to figure out which one I want to buy. I'm gonna go with the one where the digger's the closest. If it's new, I'm gonna go with the one where the digger's the closest by, and it falls under all the other, you know, requirements that I have. You don't have to have those requirements, but I do. And one of the biggest requirements is I would have to have $10,000 to $12,000 worth of work lined up before I would even purchase one. But if I had that much work lined up, I would purchase one, a used one. just like with the Bobcat, I used one. I've learned a lot from the Bobcat, good and bad. I made money all along the way, and I've educated myself on a lot of things by just having the machine and owning it and having to maintain it and seeing what it can or can't do. So the next machine I buy, there's a couple of mandatory minimums. Number one, it ain't gonna be a Bobcat name brand. Now, if I'd have waited and kept renting Bobcats, I'd probably still be renting them, trying to figure out what machine I want, you know, only to have to buy a used one anyway. Can't get none of that time back. I got time to I want to learn as fast as possible. I want to earn as fast as possible. But moving forward, if I buy another skid steer, and I'm not saying I am or I ain't, I probably will eventually. But moving forward, I know not to buy a Bobcat because the door, I don't like the way the door is, and I don't like the way the fuel port is. So that takes Bobcat right out of the realm, unless the freaking number is stupid friendly, and it's not going to be. Well, Ray, man, you know, having a fuel from the back and you know the door, man, you can't let that determine what machine you get, but I can let that determine or disqualify a potential machine, because those are the things that are important to me. Once you get into the mechanics of the machine, Cat, Kubota, Deere, Takeuchi, I mean, dude, they're really not that big of a difference in them, except for the little things that really irritate a guy like me when I'm on the road having to pull up and unchain everything just so I put freaking fuel in it, you know. These are just some thoughts, man, that I got. And I know the video is getting a little bit long, and I know there's going to be some people coming in there saying, man, you a damn fool. It's all right. No matter what you say, I'm going to continue doing things the way I've been doing things until they don't work.